Welcome to the fourth webinar of the Together for Change online course. We are here with our colleagues, Thomas and Gerald from VHS Wien, Austria. And we are just waiting a few more minutes for the people, for more people to join, and we will then start. You can maybe rename yourself with the full name and organization and country so that we can identify you and also give you the floor later if you want to speak, interact with us.
So
Thomas,
I've
yes.
lost myself. Okay, can you still see me?
No, we can't see you now.
I don't know, I've gone.
Maybe you can stop the video and share again.
No, because I don't have my... Can you see me now?
Nope.
Because it doesn't say where I can start the video here.
Should be in the low bar of the screen.
Ah, you're right. Sorry, I was in the wrong thing. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Perfect. Okay, Thomas Fritz from VHS Wien, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome to our webinar on counteracting and addressing racism and right-wing populisms in adult education. We've decided today to pre-record an interview for technical reasons of stability and also of the length of the input, so we know how long it is. And the interview is with a colleague of ours from Linz in Upper Austria, who is working at an NGO called maiz or kollektiv. I think she will mention why there are two names. Actually, the two names are a reaction to right-wing populist attacks on the institution, on the NGO. Rubia Salgado is originally from Brazil and came to Austria in the 1980s, started teaching Portuguese, actually at an institution that I was running at that time, and then started off with other Latin American women, this NGO, which is a self-organization, as they call it. So it's an organization by migrants, for migrants. In Linz, it's been running for quite some time, and it's a very politically active institution. They have training courses, language and literacy courses. They also have a very strong aspect of working with arts, and they have a very strong element of political activity. And this is why we asked Rubia to talk about her work to us today, because I think this is one of the most excellent examples of this combination of political work plus political education plus literacy education. We'll show you the video now, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about the video afterwards. The video takes about 30 minutes and it's been recorded 2 weeks ago. So please, Francesca, could you share the video with us?
Yes.
I just have to say the first 20 seconds are a bit strange because we had to cut the introduction, and yeah, so don't give up after 10 seconds.
Hi, Rubia. It's so good that you have time for us to talk for this webinar, which is called Addressing and Counteracting Right-Wing Populisms and Racisms. And I think you are the person in Austria to talk to you about. Can you briefly introduce the NGO you're working for, maiz kollektiv?
Yeah, so I can try to do it briefly. So it's a very long story, history. Maiz exists already since 26 years, I think. So about 26 years, and kollektiv is like a follow organization of maiz, and exists exactly now since 5 years.
Okay.
And both organizations are migrant organizations, are independent association of and for migrant women, with the aim to improve the living and working situation of migrants in Austria, but also, and it's very important, to promote their political and cultural participation, and also to bring about and this is the point of, I think, interesting for you, to bring about a change in existing and unjust social conditions. Yeah. From to live here is not so easy, and to live as migrant person here is really not easy. And not only in Austria, in Europe, also, and also as a refugee women is. And we try to do something all these years, to support, to be on the side together, thinking with the women, but also trying to change life conditions in this country. And we understand ourselves as a place of critical educational work, of exchange, of contradiction, of collective organization, and so on. And in kollektiv, we are doing the educational work. Maiz keeps on working, but no more, a little bit, but not no more strong in the field of education. They are like making counseling work, rights, and social supporting for the women, but also cultural work. And both organizations are also in the field of research.
Okay, yeah.
Producing, so like knowledge production is also for us very important. So counter-hegemonical knowledge production, something like this.
So from the first sentences you said, it's clear that maiz kollektiv is a resistance movement, is a very political enterprise, and it's very much in the tradition of Freire, I think. Does that have any consequences for you as regards funding and acknowledgement by politics, regional politics, national politics are concerned?
Well, so the existence, so that maiz exists and kollektiv is like something unexpected in Austria. So, yes, we have a lot of difficulties. Maiz had last year, I think, so some from the Subventionsstellen, so from the founders, they just cut the subventions, so the money, but we keep on existing. So the right-wing parties, they don't like us. It's, of course, they are like persecuted, following us, trying to find always mistakes. There was a long years. They were trying to characterize corruption, so like saying we are corrupt migrants and so on, but they didn't. They were not success. They didn't succeed here, so they could not prove it. But it was you heard about. So it was a big, very strong fight. A lot of years. Now since 2017, when they start to work also at the Austrian government level, they stopped. Trying to destroy us, let's say like this, and now they are very weak in Austria. Let's see. So this special party, also this Freedom Party, also Liberal Party, but the situation here in Austria, of course, is very difficult for us. Yeah? We have to now, our projects in educational field, they are to the end of next year. They are like approved. Let's hope that we can renew, we can start again. That we get new projects. We live from project to project, and it's like I think there are some kind of acknowledgement. So they see that we are doing important work. And also they see that we have the contact to the women. So, we must not make any kind of propaganda of public relations. We do, but we have a lot of people coming every day here looking for the course, wanting to take part in our activities. That means this is our, we say always like a triumph. Yeah? So we are very inside of the community. Yeah, we are very inside of the community. People know about us. Yeah, we must, and this is something that on our side is positive for us. And I think we do good work. People come and stay here with us. Yeah. But yes, we had big problems. Now it's a little bit calm. Let's see. Yeah. Like this, and always like this expectation. Yeah, what's changed? If there is some political change on the government, we never know what's happening. Yeah. It's a big fight. But we keep on. No more.
Yeah, but that sort of structural racism. Is there any direct racism? Any violence? Any problems that you, as an organization, experience yourself?
Well. We have been all the years of our existence, we have been attacked. So even people even come inside of our rooms, yeah, and so like start to scream and yell. Once one person was also it was like physical violence also, and they come in and start to yell. So you are dirty, you have to go back to Africa. And they say sometimes to me to go back to Africa. So like, okay, what do you want to do? So a lot of aggressions like this, we know all this year, and we are also very good prepared to react to such situations. And the women, also, I by myself, I am not really, I don't have such, I'm not exposed, I'm white. People don't attack me on the streets. If they hear me talking another language, sometimes, yes, I have some experience, but it is not, so there are here working in kollektiv, a lot of migrant women, a lot of refugee women, a lot of colored people and Black women. And those colleagues, yes, they have a lot of problems on the public transport, on the way to the work, and the staying outside. For some weeks, a colleague of us from Sudan has been attacked on the street here, coming to the work. And it's always brutal, violence, physical violence, and people do not help. So this is the tragic. Here in Austria, you stay alone with these things, and the women who participate on our course and other activities. I always say there is never 1 week, not even 1 week, without women coming like crying or nervous because they have suffered attack. Like how it's called? Veil?
The veil, yeah. Headscarf.
They want to take it off. They spucken. I don't know how to speak. Every week. It's like, and what we do here is like try to think about, talk about legal informations, so in different languages. What are your rights, what you can do, what must you not do, and so on. And also how to react verbal. So of course, in our German course and so on, we try to train, yeah. So how can you also understand, because people are talking mostly the dialect.
Yeah.
How to understand what they are telling you, saying to you, and how can you also react verbal. Sometimes, because a lot of our the teachers here, I cannot speak dialect, for instance. I cannot do this block, for instance, in our course, but we invite sometimes, so people and other colleagues to do it. Or we do also when we make it a lot with forum theater, so Boao, to train how to react in such a situation, how to defend yourself, how to stop these, and also sexism. So for racism and sexism. So we are doing, sometimes we do also extra workshops. So like how to defend yourself and what are your rights, or how can you deal here, how can you handle it.
Yeah. So you're actually addressing these things, and you're talking to the women and working with the women on how to react and what to do. Yeah. And that's part of our educational program.
And the other level of work is the work on the public space. Yeah? So how to talk about these problems in the public space, to write text, to do like this, what we're doing now, to be talking about, to make, try to change something in the mind of the people. And this together with another organizations and movements and so on, to make campaign against racism, against sexism and so discrimination, to be part, we try always to be part of movements, to be part of civil society movements and so on.
And are your women also part of the movement, or is it just the teaching staff? Mostly
the teaching staff. Sometimes some of the women also get involved in such process, and it's really very, very nice when it happens. Mostly they are very interested, the participants of the courses, and it's very interesting. It's changed. It depends on the people who are here, of course, and change. Now we are observing that the women, the most, I think about 60-70% of the participants of our Basisbildung, basic education, about 60 or 70% are women from Afghanistan now. And it's very interesting to observe that always when we organize and think about to do something outside, like a manifestation, demonstration, we say in German, to make an action outside, they are always here. They come. So it's very interesting. There are other groups that don't come. I don't know why. So I cannot explain, but the most of the women here, they have the possibility in our courts to talk about violence. And to think about what we can do. And sometimes the only thing we can do is to go outside with posters and this is at least something that they can do, and it's interesting. And they talk about, maybe because of their experience in Afghanistan and also in Iran with patriarchal violence. Maybe they are very in this issue. There is a kind of sensibility here, and they come, and they go with us. They go with us to Vienna, for instance, at the time of Donnerstag demonstration, this weekly the manifestations in Vienna. There are always women coming together and making a point, like talking, also speaking there and so on. But it depends on the group. And the other aspect that is very important and very special for maiz and for kollektiv is that the most people working here have visited our course. We are always like, who is here, and try to invite those persons, the women that have interest in political work, in education political work, we invite them to work with us. And that's why we have colleagues from Sudan, from Afghanistan, from Syria teaching here with us and working also in another fields of the work here, in other areas. But this is one of our strategies, to involve people like this and making qualified work and being paid for the work also, qualification and so on.
So that's participation as it should be, isn't it?
This is one point. So political work, there are a lot of political work that are not paid, of course. Yeah. But everybody who works here in kollektiv is agreed and knows that there are political work to do. So they are doing it, and it's not paid. Political work to organize action. Yeah. It's no pay. It's no work, no paid work. Yeah, but it's part of our work here because we understand ourselves as a political organization, and so. Yeah. It's like the identity of the organization. And those women are also taking part. Some work with us, some not. But I think one important aspect is really this, try always to evolve, to give a chance for qualified work. Something.
Do you think that some of your participants come to maiz kollektiv because they know about your political work, or do they find out when they're there?
I think, so it's really synkismus. I don't know, I think they come because they hear that our courses are good. They know, so there's people tell about our good class, good teachers, and also we have course and also this support always, counseling support. And there are really very good colleagues here working here. I think they are doing their work well. Yeah. And some of them come and say, I heard that you are a feminist organization. Some say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was
okay. Some, but not the most. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also they come because they know that here there are kind of solidarity. It's a kind of social room of solidarity, of women, solidarity among women. They know it. This is well known in Linz and surrounding. You know? This is what I hear from the women. They say, if you have problem, go to maiz, go to the migrants, and so this is well known, I think, but not especially because I want to do political work. Some of them, but not.
Okay.
Not
but it's this solidarity and this doing something together is something that attracts women. Rubia, now the last but the most complicated question of tonight is, we're working on a European project, and our interview is being used in a webinar, and this will be watched by people from all over Europe. And I might want to know, are there any suggestions from you for people working in adult education in different contexts, how they could work, how they could take your model as a model, on how they could work and counteract this racism and right-wing populisms that are abundant in Europe at the moment?
So this is really difficult, and I don't believe I have a model really here. Because Thomas, you too. I am working in this field here in Austria around 30 years already. And maiz exists, for instance, since 26 years. And there are another organizations here in Austria and also in Germany and another country making super work, very important work in this field of anti-racist and so against racism and sexism and so on. And we see what's happening in the world. We have a big backlash. So the laws are getting more and more restrictive. So all the work we have done all these years, we see that we are losing. It was bad, and it's getting worse. That means I don't have to enter. I cannot say to my colleagues, to our colleagues, so you have to do this and it's going to work. No, but we have to keep on doing it. Although, just because it's getting worse, these alone is reason enough to work stronger. In that means I heard for some. It was the first lockdown about April or May. I was hearing a conference, a web seminar with Gayatri Spivak, and as a post-colonial theorists, so feminist, Marxist, and so on, that I like very much to hear, to read every time. So it's like inspiring, but she's also very hard in her words. And she said, to whom are you going to talk? Who is going to hear you? You know, like addressing us, activists or educational people and so on. And who is going to hear? But nicht trotzdem, I don't know how to say it. This is the reason. That's why. Because if we're going to see the things are getting worse, we know that for the women, people who we work together, it's more and more and more and more. It's a very difficult situation. If I'm going to leave, so to see some radical change in the time of in my lifetime, in my life, I don't know. But to keep on such place like our place, this is a big challenge. And it brings us to your first question at the beginning. How is it? How to financiate? How to
finance? To
finance this work. It's a big challenge to keep such place of solidarity, of resistance. This is a big challenge that we have to do. We have to do this, and to keep on speaking. To keep on being present on public space without fear of not getting the financial support. This is a big. You have to. It's a risk. It's a big risk, but not close the mouth. To keep on and keep to. Well, now, for instance, in our field of work, basic adult education, here in Austria we have now a curriculum, a very
restrictive,
up-to-date, neoliberal, up-to-date curriculum, let's say like this, mainstream. So that's what you see in what's happening in this field, and how to deal with this. How to do out of this the best for the women, also for the participants. So this is a big challenge, and then not to know the truth. So this is what I always say. So if you ask me the model, so how to be in resistance, how to be in opposition, how to try to create a better world without being without making manipulations and indoctrination. So this is also a big challenge. Things are getting worse. The situation is getting more and more difficult. But we may not manipulate. We may not indoctrinate, and so on. And how to be radical without producing truths. This is a big challenge, and also what I hope. I hope that education can do this way. To be radical against violence, against discrimination. To be radical in searching for a better world without producing truths. I don't know what is the better word for everybody. Otherwise, we have the it's dangerous to fall in something like totalitarian. This is what I always say. It's nothing new. And to keep together, to not to be in concurrence, but in solidarity. Also, the organizations here. It's a big challenge. We have a big challenge, and I really don't have a model. I don't have like the solution. I always say, ethic. What is the ethic? And then I think in Freire, Paulo Freire, when he asks, for whom are you working? For whom are you working? Are you working for the state that are paying your program? Or are you working for the people who came and participate on your course? And this is, for me, a really key question. Yeah, to keep here our ethic, also answering these questions, don't producing truths, and developing work in resistance and with a vision, with a utopia, yeah, of a better world. So.
Rubia, fantastic. Thank you very much for all your visions and your perseverance. I really do admire. I think there is a little bit of a model because you're involving women in your concrete work. You're taking women who were participants as teachers for new women. You're doing political work. And I think that is, for me, that is not a model because a model is too small, but it's a principle that is probably successful.
Maybe one sentence more. So we were talking about Freire, and I think it's also very similar. Freire says that adult education should be a place where emancipation, and also can be like improved. Yeah? Also, and also he talks that this place, this room, this place of adult education cannot be finished. So our work is never finished by, okay, I'm teaching. No, the step afterwards is also, so to go outside. So adult education should challenge the structures. Yeah.
Now you're saying that, I have to think of that sentence of the first webinar by Professor Licinio Lima from Braga University, who said adult education has to become more dangerous again.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's
what it is.
Yeah.
The structures, they must feel our power. Yeah. Also, it should be our goal. Yeah.
Voila.
Voilà. Thank you very much. I hope that some of the energy that is there when Rubia talks and her enthusiasm came across by the video. I see some nods. It's fascinating, also fascinating if you know how difficult that work is and how dangerous it sometimes is, but I think that's a very good point for change-oriented adult education. It's not a walk in the park. It's not something that is widely accepted. It's not something that everybody applauds. It's not something that everybody's keen on financing and celebrating. It is, and the word that I used in the video, in the interview, was resistance. It is some sort of resistance and taking sides. I think Rubia's quote of Paulo Freire, you have to think who you're working for. Are you working for the people who pay you, or are you working for the people who are there and who you are partisan with? And I think that's important. And if we want to create a model out of that, and I think it's difficult to find the working recipe against racism and right-wing populisms. If you had that recipe, it wouldn't exist. We would have overcome racism centuries ago, but we've been building up racism through colonial times, through even longer, and it's still there, and it's still appealing to a lot of people due to probably to social problems. I've just heard yesterday that we had a terrorist attack in Vienna, as you might have known, a couple of weeks ago, and the increase in anti-Islamic racism is 60%. So people don't dare to give interviews on television to say what they experience. They tell other people, but they don't want to be on camera. So I think it's an endless way. It's what Rubia said. It's an endless way. It's something that we cannot regard as being finished at any point in time. But I think the model, coming back to that, sorry, I'm talking too much. The model is, for me, key to the model is this conviction. So it's a question of attitude. And it's also a methodological question, this question of participation. What I find really, really interesting is that in maiz kollektiv, former participants of literacy courses turn into teachers of literacy courses, turn into experts in the literacy courses. And I think that's a challenge, and that's a big change in adult education if we really follow that path, in not only involving our participants by asking them what they want to do, but also by giving them opportunity. I think we're 13.
Yes, I think you're breaking out, Thomas. I don't know if it's your connection. Yes, I guess you're frozen now. While you come back, maybe I can ask people, yes, if they want to react to the video, just raise their hands. I will give them the floor.
Yes.
If you have any particular question to ask to them, no worries. But I just that could be the modality to intervene in this webinar. We can now hear you, Thomas, and no, see you before hearing you.
I can see and hear you. This is why I asked you to play the video.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any reactions from our participants? You can raise your hands, use the function. Yes, the chat is enabled. Okay, then write in the Q&A or in the chat. You should be able at least to write to the panelists, or the Q&A can be a good way to communicate with us.
Jiri, did you want to raise your hand or did you want to say something?
I will just give him the floor. Okay, Jiri, you have the floor.
I don't actually have any comments or questions. I was just thinking and sending messages in chat and question box that at least I can't raise any hands at the moment.
But can you raise an issue?
No, I can't, because I was thinking about not being able to raise hands. But just a comment, it was interesting to hear this case, because as we know from history, Austria is one of the countries which is very much confronted with racism and populism and things like this, among many other countries, of course. But it's interesting to see that you have this kind of cases where you have people who are paying attention to this problem and trying to use adult education as a means of fighting this kind of issues.
Yes, and I want to add now, because you came up with this pessimist but realistic picture of Vienna, of Austria. This is not the only place where something like this happens. There are other NGOs. There's Latin American exiled women in Austria that's also celebrating 30 years of existence. There's Peregrina, the nun, so the wandering nun. That's the model. And they all combine education with counseling and support. There's Orient Express, which is an organization that also looks at enforced marriages and runs, as far as I know, 2 sheltered accommodations for women who are victims of forced marriages. So there is a tradition in Austria for both things, and I think that makes it livable in this country, because otherwise we'd have to emigrate to Finland. It's too cold there and too dark, I think.
Don't come here. We have the same problems here as well. I think it's all everywhere, the same problem, at least to some degree. But so some countries are worse and some are not so worse. But I don't think we have any country in the world where the racism and populism is not a danger or an issue.
Yes, Sari says that Sari from KBS Foundation says that the participatory model is very interesting, and learners becoming teachers is very innovative. And this, related to what you were saying now, I think makes me think of another very good practice, well, super best practice that we had collected in another project, and it's the La Verneda Adult School. That is based in Barcelona, and they also they train learners to become teachers, and actually the whole school is run by volunteers. And it's a great also participatory approach, because the school is also led by two organizations of learners. So one is Agora, and the other one is I don't remember the name, but it's a female learners association. So both organizations are leading the school, and I think it's just a great example. But again, I think what you were saying now, that in all countries are doing more or less the same, and with different levels of experience. But I think what's interesting, and what's also difficult sometimes to find, is those wonderful realities. So we didn't know about this great practice from Austria, and there might be others in other countries, but they are very grassroots and maybe very small, despite the big work and the huge challenge that they are facing. And I was wondering whether maybe you knew something. You listed some, maybe other participants have also other suggestions.
I just wanted to add something to this participatory model, because from what Rubia told us, it looks like it's nothing for mainstream adult education, right? Because it's a very special situation. But when I came to think of it, that we are running teacher training courses for language teachers, and apart from me, all the trainers in that course are former participants in that course. And I think that's very, very good. I mean, they participated and then moved on somewhere else, and then they joined the training course. So it's something that can be easily done, really. It's no miracle. You don't have to be an NGO somewhere marginalized and on the fringes of adult education. You can be a big institution. You can be a very traditional institution. You can still do it. And I think that's one of the things I would suggest for change-oriented education, to take that on board. I think Sari is on now.
Hello. I don't know if you can see me, but you can hear me probably. Yeah, I just wrote into the chat, but I realized that I didn't write it to all attendees. I thought that what Rubia said, how to keep resistance and how to be in opposition, how to create a better world without manipulation was interesting. And she said that we can't manipulate and indoctrinate, but how to be radical without producing the truth. That was like a good point, somehow something I hadn't thought about myself before. In KVS, we are trying to promote the Bildung in Finland. Like, we have our own term for that. It's something like sivistys in Finnish, and we were just discussing today, should we define what it is and then tell people that this is what Bildung is about, or should we just leave it open and tell them to, you know, just to encourage them to think about what this Bildung is about? It's really difficult to translate that to English. We don't really have a good word for that. So yeah, that was a good thing what Rubia said about how to produce, like that we can't produce the truth. We just have to make people think.
Yeah. I know that the word Bildung is also, it's a German word and it's difficult to translate into English because there's no equivalent, and it's got a very old-fashioned tang to it because it all goes back to Mr. Humboldt, who set up the first some universities and some intellectual endeavors. But I think that what Humboldt was thinking of and what Rubia certainly is thinking of is this critical education. And there can be no truth in critical education, because as soon as you have a truth, you have to question that truth. So it's a permanent process of asking questions, of not being content what you do, but with questioning what you do and seeing it in relation to your aims, to your goals, to your ethic, as Rubia said, to your principles. And I think that's also a key, for me, a key element of change-oriented adult education. Also, if you refer to Freire, if you refer to Spivak, if you refer to all these critical thinkers, I mean, critical thinking has been a bit outdated at the moment, but I think nevertheless, it's extremely important, and we need to go back to more critical thinking. And I think there's a big tradition in the Scandinavian countries of learner-led critical debates, like the study circles in Sweden, much more than we have them in other parts of Europe. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on somebody's toes out of sheer ignorance, but certainly not in Austria. So we still have this model of transmitting knowledge from person A to group B, but we have very little critical thinking, and critical theory is being challenged by the ruling parties at the moment. The curriculum that Rubia was referring to is the follow-up to a curriculum that was in place for 6 or 7 years, which was based in critical literacy work, in critical literacy thinking, based on works by Freire, Spivak, etc., etc. But that's been too ideological. So the new ideology is, and I think that's interesting, because we're not only fighting right-wing populisms and racisms. I think we're also fighting what Tariq Ali called the radical center. So that, and where we can observe that parties traditionally in the center of the society are moving to the right. So the center is actually radicalizing itself, and the mainstream is getting much, much more radical as it used to be, always pretending to be ideology-free, which is an ideology, of course. So I think we need to not only to work with counteracting right-wing movements, but also with the mainstream. The mainstream is dangerous at the moment, I think. Sorry. Thanks for putting up the link to the Barcelona school, which is a very good example, which has been published in the guide to the OED project. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we put the guide on the webpage of.
I will. And also, Giri shared another example. Maybe we can give him the floor again, yes, so he can explain.
It's got sauna in the title, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's actually learning spaces in English. And I just realized, which is funny, because I've been working in this FuturelabAE project with this team for over 1.5 years. And I just realized that I have had exactly one very good example of a change-oriented project. And as I wrote in the chat, we have we had some trials. We have some experiments that we created groups for people who want to learn something hobby-related. For example, learn to sing and play music in an international group, or prepare a theater play in a group which is mixed group with people from different backgrounds. And I sent you some web links to our project website, where you can have access to these descriptions and evaluations from these experiments. And they, in my opinion, they are very interesting, because we managed to get, for example, in both groups, people with people from maybe 10 or 11 different countries, from different languages and different cultural groups, and they were able to work together to prepare concerts and make public concerts and so on. And it was a very interesting example of how you can actually get people to know each other, even though if you have different backgrounds. Because the problem is that people are living in their own housing areas, and they don't actually meet each other in everyday settings, and they don't discuss with each other, they don't interact. And it's one of the reasons why we have this kind of racist movements and attitudes, and there's place for populism in society. People don't know each other. So this is, I was happy to remember that we had this project, because it was very, very interesting and very successful project.
Thank you, Jiri. Francesca just posted the guidelines to the OED project in the chat, and there you find the example of the school in Barcelona in a short version, but with a link that hopefully still works. Yeah, and I think the guidelines themselves are quite a good source for ideas for change-oriented adult education as well, because they're mainly geared towards outreach activities on an equal footing. That means you don't go out and preach and proselytize, but you go out and talk to people and find out what they want, what they need, and how you should go about providing that for them. And I think that perhaps I don't know, I think I'm trying to wind up here, not you, but the webinar. I think we're ahead of a paradigm change certainly a paradigm change in adult education, with two possible outcomes. For me, one of the outcomes is a reduction of adult education to transmitted, partly participative adult education that is being done through electronic media. And I refer you back to the first part of a series of webinars. The whole thing links very nicely together on purpose. The other thing is that we probably have a turn towards more small-scale, independent, people-run, participatory adult education institutions, NGOs, whatever. And I've been observing in Austria, this is where I know best what I'm doing, what I'm seeing, that the real innovative aspects in adult education do not come out of the traditional big adult education institutions. I always compare them to big oil tankers maneuvering shallow oceans, but the real innovation comes from small entities, small institutions that have no voice in the national debate. So another change-oriented project would be to get more voice, or give more voice, or to let more voice be achieved by these small institutions, which is probably something against my own institution. But if I think about changes and possibilities for changes in a huge adult education institution, a lifetime is probably not enough to see these changes happen. If I think of small institutions, I'm thinking of Gerhild now, who's below me on my screen, who is on the board of a small NGO. I mean, as soon as you have finished your everyday problems, solve your everyday problems, you have much more space and possibilities to change things and to produce innovations. That was the sermon of Thursday afternoon.
Can I conclude with a positive note, maybe? No, I'm joking. What I wanted to suggest, and is something that is coming also from our annual conference that took place last week at EAA with our members, is that probably cooperation and partnerships are the way through, are part of the solution, let's say, because of course we don't want to formalize the grassroots or grassroots the big institutions and the formal, as you were saying. But if we cooperate, if we can manage to find innovation, transfer innovation, find expertise, use this expertise, find the learners where they are. And so if we manage really to cooperate, probably we can move forward with this dichotomy or challenges that we have.
Thanks for the positive message. Mine wasn't meant to be negative anyway. Here comes the formal part of the webinar. If you look at the website of this webinar, which is module number 4, you will find 2 tasks. We actually thought we'd discuss these tasks, but we didn't manage. And it's just thinking about, have you ever experienced problems through racism and right-wing populism in your working life, in your work as an educator? And how did and the question is on purpose, not how did you react, but how did your institution react? Because I think that's something that's important. I think, I'm taking up the last 2 minutes again. I think that's important with the example of maiz kollektiv, that it's not the individual person, the individual trainer from Sudan who has to step out and do something, but it's the whole institution that talks about the problem, that uses the problem as in the Theater of the Oppressed by Augusto Boal, giving the participants the language to speak up. But it's the whole institution that is supporting the individual, and I think that is vital in this case and in this aspect. We've got 30 more seconds. We started late, but we'll finish on time, I think, and I'll thank everybody who was here. Unfortunately, I didn't see everybody, but those I saw made my heart leap. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope our decision to make the interview with Rubia was a good one. I have a feeling that it was. And we'll meet again. No, well, the webinar will meet again in 2 weeks. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.